Day 82, July 21, 2022. It's about 6 o'clock in the morning. We got a later start than I would have liked this morning, which and we're also further out from town than I thought we were, which kind of pushes the whole day backwards an hour or so, and we won't get to Wessington Springs until later in the afternoon, but we're still doing okay. The good news is I think I finally figured out how to properly sleep with that mosquito netting over my head in the sleeping bag. So I actually got a pretty good night's sleep. I woke up several times to turn over and had to adjust the mosquito netting, but they only got me a couple of times, once on the ear, once on the shoulder, when I didn't have it adjusted properly. But I feel good. I had a good night's sleep. This is that drive-in food place that I considered aiming for last night. We could have got here fairly easily and probably gorged ourselves on ice cream after that hot day yesterday. But it's just kind of on the edge of town, and I didn't want to go into town yesterday. This is Woonsocket coming up, and I was afraid we'd get in here and we'd be kind of trapped and there wouldn't be any place to camp closer into town. Okay, finally on the road again. This is a lot later in the morning than I would like. Had breakfast at the Dakota Roadhouse in Woonsocket. It was a great breakfast. It was a little bit slow, but you got to put that into context. I mean, people all over are hurting for staff. Everybody is short-staffed these days. And sometimes things take a little longer, that's all there is to it. I really, really hate it when people pass when there's a pedestrian on the left shoulder. It's the most dangerous thing you can do, because I don't know you're back there. I hear one car back there, not two. Never do that, folks. You don't know what the pedestrian is going to do. There could be a snake in the grass on the left-hand side. I could have to skip out towards the center line, not even thinking that there's a car in that other lane. All right, 15 miles to go to get to Wessington Springs. And it's later in the morning than I'd like. So we're going to get there in the heat of the day, and there's nothing to be done about it. Moving on. Well, folks, as it says in the title of this vlog, I am a wandering storyteller in search of an audience. I'm out here looking for an audience for my book, The Legend of Pedestrio. And if you haven't read The Legend of Pedestrio yet, you'll find ordering information on my website. And if you have read it and you enjoyed it, well, I'd sure appreciate if you could leave a review on Goodreads or Amazon. Believe me, 1 or 2 sentences is all it takes, and it makes all the difference in the world for a book like mine that's kind of hard to put into any particular category. Your review could help a lot of readers find that book. But as I said, I am a wandering storyteller, and as you know, lately I've been getting my storytelling fix by memorizing a poem by Lewis Carroll called The Hunting of the Snark. It's a pretty long poem, but I've been memorizing it bit by bit and reciting it for you 2 or 3 stanzas at a time. But about a week ago or so, I told one of my own stories, an old one from a long time ago, and I got some positive feedback from that. People wanting to hear me tell more stories. So I thought I would tell you the legend of Pedestrio, at least a little bit. Maybe it'll whet your appetite and you'll want to hear more or read more. Briefly put, the legend of Pedestrio is about my friend Vern and me in our search for a million-year-old man who walks the earth by day and the sky at night. Now, I call that man Pedestrio, although you might know him by a different name. Or you might have even seen him yourself out there on Wildside and not known who he was. But you could tell just from the way he moved that there was something different about him. Maybe you saw him scrambling through a briar patch that would have taken you and I most of the day to pick our way through. Or maybe he was striding up a steep and rocky slope as if it were level ground, or hiking across the burning hot desert barefoot. Ever seen anybody like that before? Well, if so, that person might have been Pedestrio. And tell you true, there's not a patch of ground anywhere on the planet that he hasn't walked across too many times to count. And when nightfall comes, why, he just steps up into the sky and tiptoes among the stars. And you can see him up there too most nights, if it's not too cloudy out. Just look for a pattern of stars that resembles a figure caught in mid-stride. Now, when I say Pedestrio is a million years old, you gotta understand, I'm a storyteller, not a census taker. So long as there's at least 1 grain of truth in the hourglass, I don't care to count all the other grains. Man's true age is his own business anyway, but I can tell you this for a fact. Pedestrio is older than most hills. He's seen mountains rise and fall. He's seen oceans turn to desert and deserts turn to tundra. And after all these years, imagine the stories he knows. Imagine the natural events he's been a witness to. Why, you give me a day in Pedestrio's footsteps, and I bet I come home with enough tales to last a lifetime. But the trick is, he's awful hard to track down. And that's where the legend of Pedestrio begins.